Hi, it's Diana. I am in my living room. Usually, Michael, my husband, is on various meetings, making lots of noise in here. So I can't come in here, but now he's on anyway, he's not. So I get to use the living room. And today I am talking about the analyzing The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Now, before I start talking about it, there are a couple of things I want to do. One, I talked about how once a person reads, or at least me, let's talk about me. Once I read a lot of books, I start making connections in my head. Like, oh, this is like this, or this reminds me of that. And not so much, I was going to say usually I don't, unless I'm having to write a research paper, which I haven't had to do in a long time. I do not run and research and find out if the books are connected or how they're connected. I just make connections in my head and it makes me happy. So I decided to do that because I'm noticing that books that I've highlighted are starting to connect. So here are our similarities that The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe has with some of the other books in the series this year, 2021, 2022. One loses time in Narnia. Okay, and here are the books that we've done. Polar Express, Bunny Cakes, not in this order necessarily, Night Kitchen, or In the Night Kitchen, The Bad Beginning, or A Bad Beginning, I always forget. That's the first book of a series of unfortunate events. Wizard of Earthsea, which is the first in the Earthsea series. Jalapeno Bagels, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and Best Friends for Francis. So here are some of the similarities. There are animal characters, and that's the same as Bunny Cakes, Best Friends for Francis, and Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Cold weather plays a role. That's true in Polar Express and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. It's a part of a series. That's true for Wizard of Earthsea, Bad Beginning, and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And these books are all the beginning of the series, or at the beginning. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe was written first, but C.S. Lewis said it's the second book. They're a fantasy, or in the fantasy genre. That's true for the Polar Express, Wizard of Earthsea, and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. There's enchanted food. They all have food because that's why I pick them. So I didn't even write that one down. But the food is enchanted, Wizard of Earthsea, and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. That's a lot of similarity. One of the things that's so fascinating about Turkish Delight, at least when I was a kid, I had never heard of it, never tasted it, had no hope of ever trying it. Where I grew up, I couldn't go to the store and ask for Turkish Delight or find it on the shelf. I have seen it since as an adult on a shelf. The fact that it's called Turkish Delight, when I was first read this book, I had no plans to go to Turkey. So I really didn't think I was going to eat it. I had no even visual. There was no internet. When I was a kid, there was no even visual of what this stuff was. But it was something that was so fantastic, it was the food he requested. Because Turkish Delight, and I'm not saying anything bad about Turkish Delight. Turkish Delight also, it has a name that isn't Turkish Delight. In Turkey, it's called lokum. I think that's how it's pronounced, lokum. It's candy. Turkish Delight is candy. Now, all candy, including Turkish Delight, has little to no nutritional value. So Edmund, first off, the food he asks for, he's a kid. It's not really surprising that what he asks for is candy. But when he goes to tell the witch that his brother and his sisters are in Narnia, and they're with the Beavers, Mr. and Mrs. Beaver, he is telling on them so that he can get some candy. I don't know if Edmund understands that something bad is going to happen. He's telling himself that the witch isn't as bad as what they're saying, and that Aslan's just a big poo-poo head, and trying to make himself feel better. But what he's doing is trading information for candy. And that's a big factor here. That if he had said, please may I have a roast dinner, maybe he would have felt different. But he's trading for candy. Another thing about Turkish Delight, at least when I've made it, and it says in the book that it's light through all the way to the center, is it's mushy. It doesn't have, it's got more texture or more, but it's kind of like I'm going to say a marshmallow, but a marshmallow is a little fluffier, a little more air than Turkish Delight, but you can like squidgy it. So there's this textural thing too, that it has no nutritional value, and it's mushy. It's not like a brick. It's not concrete. It has no substance. It has no depth. I do not want to. So what Edmund trades for has no substance. So that is very important in the analysis of the role that the candy plays. What role does Turkish Delight play? It shows just how bad Edmund's betrayal is. Oh, it's not even that. That was something I wrote down. It's not even warm. Like Turkish Delight, so he gets a warm beverage, which is helpful because he's cold. But Turkish Delight, it's not like eating soup. It doesn't make him warm. That was another thing. Edmund eats like more than 1 pound of it, and he still wants more. And it's not just that. It's, how can you eat 2 pounds of candy? Okay. Oh, yeah. It's packaged very fancy. So when he gets it, it's in a box, and it's tied with a silk ribbon. So it looks really good. It's packaged real nicely. And inside, it seems very nice, and it tastes real good, and he wants more. But even, it's just like there's this coating or this covering for something that has no substance. I'm going to keep saying it has no substance. The thing I noticed is that while he's eating it, he is much more, or he's distracted, and the witch keeps asking him questions, which he is willing to answer. Now, to be fair, Lucy had tea with Mr. Tumnus, and he asked her questions too, and she also answered them. The only difference that I'm going to say, I don't want to say the only difference, but a big difference is that Mr. Tumnus is the one that said, I can't do it. I can't betray you. I can't turn you over to the witch. And the witch is herself, so she's not going to say that. But Lucy was kind of doing the same thing. I started to wonder, is Edmund so bad? He's trusting this woman. He's cold. And he's been giving candy. Much worse than what Lucy does. Lucy tells about her brothers and her sister. She goes off with a stranger. She just happens to meet somebody who feels guilty. The witch doesn't feel guilty. So what's the difference? Who knows? I noted in my notes, when I noted things, that the thing that Edmund betrays most is his relationship with his siblings, in that he lies to them, he runs away from them, he hurts Lucy by bearing false witness. I don't know what to call it. He says that she that she was lying about Narnia. And the more he does things like that, the more he's grumpy in the way he relates to them. So a big thing that he is betraying is his own relationship with his siblings. Oh yeah. Oh my God, this is so all over the place. It's going to be like a puzzle. Piece it together. The Turkish Delight, not only, I talked about it not being, it doesn't have substance. It doesn't feed his body or his soul. It just makes his mouth happy. And it makes him want more. So instead of satisfying, it makes him feel hollow and wanting more. I used the word hollow. What role does Turkish Delight, why did C.S. Lewis, I was going to call him Lewis Carroll, why did C.S. Lewis choose Turkish Delight to have Edmund request? And I'm going to go with that the Turkish Delight is a candy. It doesn't have substance. It's texturally, its texture is squishy. It's packaged beautifully without providing nutrition. And all these things highlight the fact that they make the betrayal worse. That Edmund is trading his relationship with his siblings and Aslan's life and the safety of his siblings and the beavers and all of Narnia. Oh my God, it's the whole world for something that has no substance. I decided to go a little bit off book, and I had my notes, but I didn't want to read them, and that's why it's so jumpy. But I enjoyed that, and I really liked cooking the Turkish Delight because I hadn't done a full-on recipe, and it was really great. Okay, all right, that's it. And I know what book I'm doing next. And it's going to be a twofer. I'm doing 2 books. That kind of focus on the same food. Bye. We're coming to a whole year that I've been doing this. I can't believe it. Love y'all so much. See you later.